going to study order of operations. Now, we went through some of the basics of order of operations both in 5th grade and 6th grade. So today I'm kind of adding in fraction bars and how they affect our order of operations. So let's review what the order of operations are. In 6th grade, we really studied why they are in the order they are in. You always start with grouping symbols because you have to know how many items are in a group before you can evaluate an exponent or before you can multiply a number by. You can't multiply a number by a group without knowing what it is, or adding something to a group without knowing what it is. So you have to start by figuring out what's in your group before you can apply any of these operations on your group. And then after that, remember, exponents are just repeated multiplication. Multiplication is repeated adding, and adding is just counting on our fingers and toes. So they build on each other. So remember, our grouping symbols are something like a parenthesis or maybe a bracket parenthesis. And then now we're going to add the top, or I should say numerator, and the bottom, or the denominator, of a fraction. Meaning we're going to have multiple numbers and operations happening in either one of those bases. And then after that, we just have exponents, which we talked about last class, and multiplication and division. Make sure you're always doing that from left to right. And same with adding and subtraction, left to right. If you aren't already doing so, make sure you have this written down in your notebook. And if you need to, pause the video and copy this down. So the first example we are going to do, here we have the quantity 5, take away 1, raised to the 3rd power, divided by 4. So remember, the order of operations, we have to figure out what this group is in order to deal with this exponent. And we have to know what all of this is in order to even divide. So the order is important. And this year we're going to actually justify. So you're just going to tell me which of the 4 things you did. Did you do a grouping symbol, or not 4 things, but grouping symbol, exponent, multiply, divide, add, or subtract. So you can see that you're doing that same order all the time. So the first thing we're going to do here is make sure you copy down the example, write the word justify. And I need to do my grouping symbol first. So 5 minus 1 is actually 4, and then I'm going to copy and paste everything else I haven't used. And my justification was that I saw a grouping symbol. Okay, now I can reevaluate and look at what I've got. I've got 4 to the 3rd power and division. So I need to do an exponent before division. 4 to the 3rd power, watch out, a lot of you accidentally would say that that was 12 last year, so make sure you're actually thinking about exponents. It's 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. And then just copy down the division problem. And our justification, we saw an exponent. And lastly, 64 divided by 4 is 3, and we saw division. And only division. Okay, and that's your final answer is 3. And when I'm looking at your work, I expect to see all of this work in kind of a triangle fashion because you're simplifying it all the way down. And I expect to see every single step for everybody. All right, let's just do a couple more examples here. 14 plus 3 times the quantity 7 minus 2. Well, I can't do adding before I do multiplying here, but I can't multiply 3 times a parenthesis, so I have to figure out what's in there. So my grouping symbols always first. That's what I'm going to do first. That's why I'm writing it down already. So I'm going to copy everything I'm not doing. I'm not going to do 14 plus 3, and I need to figure out what's in my group here. 7 minus 2 is 5. And you can keep those parentheses and know that this is multiplication, or you can change it to a multiplication sign since you know that's what you're doing. Okay, either one will work. Now reevaluate, am I adding or multiplying? Well, order of operations says we need to do that repeated adding first. We need to do that multiplying. So multiplication. And I'm not going to do 14 and I'm not going to do plus, but 3 times 5 is 15. And now I can see that I'm just going to add my final step. 14 plus 15 is 29. Again, I should see all the work. I should see the justification. All right, something a little bit bigger. So first, take a look at what do you see? What operations do you see? First, use your eyes, and then we'll use our brain. I see a division. I see a group. I see an adding. I see another adding, and I see an exponent. So now use your brain. I need to figure out what's in this group first. So kind of all this other stuff is going to get written down. 16 divided by what's in here? Plus 3 to the third power. So what's 1.2 plus 0.8, or 1 2/10 plus 8/10? That should be 2. Justification, grouping symbol. All right, now we're evaluating what do we have now. I have a division sign, I've got an adding sign, and an exponent. So next comes exponents. 16 divided by 2 plus 9. Okay, write exponent. And 16 divided by 2, oh, that would be next because I do adding last. So 16 divided by 2 is 8 plus 9, and I saw a division sign. And then 8 plus 9 is 17. Adding's last. Okay, so make sure that way you can kind of see that you're following that order. That's the justification for. Okay, now this one is where we're going to talk about the fraction bar. So make sure you get this one written down on your page. The fraction bar does a lot of different things. It's a division sign, and it's also a grouping symbol. So right now, it's grouping our two groups. We have our numerator here, and then we've got a denominator. And that means we're going to have to figure out all of the numerator and all of the denominator before we can do this division, or it's either division or simplifying, one of the two. So let's start with, I like to do one at a time. Some people do both at the same time. It's up to you. I'm going to just do the numerator first. So I'm going to write, I've kind of changed the way I do my work. So I'm going to do the numerator, and I'm going to kind of work from left to right. I look at here, I've got 2 squared times the quantity 5 plus 6. First I need to do the group, so I'm going to write my 2 squared, and then what's my group here? It's 11, 5 plus 6. Okay? And then now I can go ahead and evaluate the exponent, because it's 2 squared, and that's times 11. So you can write that times sign in there if you want to. But 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4 times 11. Oops, and I'm about to run out of room, but 4 times 11 is my last step for the numerator, and that's 44. And now I'm not done, because I still have to do the denominator. So now backing up, 4 plus 2 to the third power. So first I need to evaluate my exponent, so it's going to be 4 plus, and that's not 6, that's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And then I'm adding, 4 plus 8 is 12, and then I'm just copying it over here because I have one more step. And don't make the mistake of thinking that this is your final answer. This is a fraction, so now you need to change to your fraction knowledge and go, well, do I need to simplify it? Do I need to divide it? What can I do? Well, 44 divided by 12, first of all, that's not an even number. I see an improper fraction, and I also see even numbers, so I know I need to simplify. So I've got a few steps to go still. So I'm going to kind of write down over here my fraction, 44 over 12. And I'm going to simplify it first before I change it to a mixed number so I can have smaller numbers. And I know they're both even, so I'm just going to pick 2 to start with. And simplify. So 44 divided by 2 is 22. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And I see I still have those even numbers, so I could have picked 4 before. But it doesn't really matter as long as you keep going. So I'm going to divide by 2 again. 2 divided by 2 is 11. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And now I have some prime numbers. and I can change it to a mixed number. There are 3 3s in 11, and that would be 9, so 10 and 11. I have 2/3 left over. That is my final answer. Okay, so there's a lot more steps involved in these. And notice, I haven't done any justifications. You don't need to do that for all the problems, just the ones that say that in the directions. So, showing your work in a neat way. So I went left to right. You could pull these apart and do 2 little problems, and then put them back together to do the fraction stuff. However you do it, as long as it's something someone else can follow. Okay, we've got a real world problem here, because what we're going to do now is write a more multi-step expression for our problem. So that should be review. We did do this last year. So Julian orders 3 rolls of crepe paper, 4 boxes of balloons, and 2 boxes of favors for a school dance. What is the total cost? Now, I know you can all find the total cost in many, many, many ways, but your job is to make one expression for the whole thing. So we're going to start with words. Like, what does he need to do? He's going to buy 3 rolls of crepe paper. And notice how I kind of put it all in one chunk, because this is kind of one thing. And then he's going to buy 4 boxes of balloons. And then he's going to do another thing. He's going to buy 2 boxes of favors. Okay, so that's what he's doing. That's our expression in words. Now we need to change our expression to one problem. Well, if he's going to buy 3 rolls of crepe paper, how do we find out what that cost is? We need to do 3 times $2. Okay, don't simplify it right now. We're just writing the expression. And is a plus sign, so add that with 4 boxes of balloons. So 4 times $5. And again, I'm not going to simplify yet. And then I've got 2 boxes of favors, so that would be 2 times favors are $7. Now I've written one expression for the entire problem. So I expect in your homework to see the words and the expression, and then of course the question asks us the total cost, so we need to evaluate it as well. And showing your work, so 3 times 2 is 6, plus 4 times 5, plus 2 times 7. Now, and then 6 plus 20, plus 2 times 7, and then 6 plus 20 plus 14. And now I can add them together, so that's 26, 36, 40. I know the answer is 40, word problem, so write your sentence. The total cost is $40. So in your homework, I expect to see all this work for your word problems, because I want you to practice knowing what words you're writing and how they look as an expression. And my main goal is that you can write an expression. So if you do that first and then you go back and write the words, that's fine. Or if you find the answer first, that's fine too. But I want you to be able to see the expression and the words together. Okay, that's the end. And go ahead and start your homework. It should be on the board.